I manipulate the HTML DOM with JavaScript. The HTML document object model, known as the DOM, is constructed as a tree of objects. So you have your document, then you've got the root element, the HTML element, and then inside that you might have a head element, a title. Below that you might have your body. Okay, you might have some links, an H1 element. Okay, so it just shows you what is inside of what. Okay, and what things are on the same level. The HTML DOM also defines the properties of the elements, the methods to access them, and the events. So what can JavaScript do with the DOM? Well, it can change all of the HTML elements. It can change all the HTML attributes. It can change all the CSS styles. It can remove existing HTML elements and attributes. It can react to existing HTML events, and it can create new HTML events. DOM methods are actions you can perform on HTML elements. For example, adding or deleting an element. DOM properties are values of HTML elements that you can set or change. So you can change the content of the HTML element. You can also change just like the color, okay, of an HTML element as well. So example one. Note, we've been using the DOM to change HTML elements already, so you should understand what the example will do before seeing it happen. So get element, lots of spelling errors here. By ID is a method, and then inner HTML is a property. So we are going to get the element that has an ID of example 1, and then the inner HTML, which is nothing right now, is going to change to this text that's added with JavaScript. So how can you find your HTML elements? Well, you can use different methods. So you can find them by ID, which is what we've been doing. It's very common. You can find them by tag name. Okay, so you can find elements by tag name. You can also get elements by class name. And then you can also get them by CSS selector. So all of the paragraphs that are in the blue class. Okay, all the paragraph elements that are in the blue class. Again, lots of spelling errors. I apologize. Note, you cannot change all the elements of the same tag name or class selector at once, unless you use a loop. Okay. Otherwise, you must select them in order of occurrence. So where 0 is the first, and so on. You can change all of them using a loop. You just have to use a loop to do it. You can't just not include any numbers in here. It just does all of them. It doesn't work like that. So more ways to find the HTML objects. Okay, so this is going to get you the body. This is going to return the HTML element, the domain of the document server, all the embed elements, all the form elements, all the head elements, all the last that returns the date and time of the object that the document was last modified. All the A elements, or the elements that have a href, the links, okay, returns what the loading status of the document is, returns all the script elements, returns the title, and then the URL. So to change the elements, okay, you can change the inner HTML, so it's between the opening and closing tags. You can change attributes. You can change the style. So you could also use this method down here to change an attribute of the elements, HTML element as well. To add and delete elements, so you can create elements, you can get rid of elements. All right. You can add an element to behind or along the same level as, and you can replace elements with new elements. And then you can write to the output stream. And again, we did this before. You have to be careful. You don't want to do this after the page loads, or it will replace the entire page. So using event handlers. So far, all of our changes have occurred as the page loaded. Okay. or we did button clicks earlier. We're going to learn about some other event handlers, okay? So we're going to use some event handlers so that we can modify the DOM as an event occurs. So for example, we've done the onClick before, and we can continue to use the onClick when the user clicks the mouse, but you can also, when the page is loaded, when an image is loaded, when the mouse moves over an element, when an input field is changed, when an HTML form is submitted, or when the user strokes a key. So these are some of the possibilities, the common events listed. All right, so we are going to look at the JavaScript and the HTML DOM. Okay, that is on Schoology, and then you can begin JavaScript practice 5, and then we'll work on that a little bit more tomorrow.